Hi, my name is Tim Creamer. Welcome to NYSSBA Newsmakers. I'm here today with Mark Schaming, who's the director of the New York State Museum. And we're going to spend some time talking about the programs and services that are available through this outstanding institution. Mark, welcome.
Hey, welcome. Great to be here.
Glad you're here.
Yes.
So you've been with the museum for quite a while. You've been the
Yes.
I read you were the 13th director.
Correct. Yeah.
But you've been there quite a while. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got there.
I have. I've been at the museum for 28 years now. I began as an exhibition designer. I have my degrees are in fine arts and visual arts, which is unusual in this museum. Many of the directors before me were scientists. And so I worked on the public side of the museum, ended up managing the public side of the museum, the exhibitions, education, and programs. And 3 years ago, I was appointed director of the museum, the 13th director. The museum, we're the largest and oldest state museum in the country.
I read that, and I was surprised to hear that. And you know, it makes sense. We're New York.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, every day I learn more about this museum, and I've been there this long, and there's you could have a lifetime at this place and not even see anything.
Yeah.
We've been under the Board of Regents since 1845. We have our collections exceed 16 million specimen and artifacts.
Wow.
From all across New York State.
Do you keep them all there in the museum?
Many are in the museum. We also have off-site storage in Rotterdam, where we hold probably about 1 million pieces of the history collection and geology collection out there as well.
I see.
Well, we have collections in biology, anthropology, history, art, geology, paleontology, huge collections in paleontology as well.
You mentioned prior to us getting started here that you curated the Hall of Governors over in the Capitol.
Right.
You know, that's not the museum. Beautiful job.
Yes.
Your art background obviously came into play there.
Well, yes, the governor reached out to the museum and wanted us to help reinstall. He opened the second floor, made it a very public space.
Yes.
And one of our expertise is the interpretation of history and art. And so we put a team on it and worked with him to do just that. And now it's really a public gallery that everybody's very proud of.
All those pieces now that we see throughout the Capitol, did they come from the museum?
No, they came from a number of museums. Some are in the collection of the Capitol. Some are actually a large painting of Seward when he was governor was in the State Education Department and is now in the Hall of Governors.
Interesting.
And in the Hall of New York, they borrowed paintings from probably 30 museums around the state that we worked with them to find. So it's great. I mean, they've turned the Capitol into a museum as well.
They certainly have.
Yes.
Well, now at the museum that you head up, the New York State Museum, it's my understanding that you have lots of school groups and teachers and programs that are aimed at that K-12 or pre-K-12 population that I represent.
Yes, that's really at the core of our mission and always has been as an educational asset. So we have broad programs from school groups to PhD fellows that are working with our research staff in biology and history.
Right.
But the school groups that come year, we get about 28,000 students a year that come from all across the state and tour the galleries. We have guides that we make for pre-visits that teachers can access online so they can structure their visits and so on.
That's great. So that if I was a teacher and I have this 5th grade class and we're studying a certain aspect of history, I can kind of say, here's what we'd like to see, here's how we'd like to tailor our visit.
Right, so you know, you want to make an expert of the teachers that are going to come in and so they can talk to the students. We're not able to tour that many students a year. It's just waves of them come every day. But the Native Peoples Gallery is a very popular one, and there's great pre-visit material there. Adirondack Hall, Metropolis, the 9/11 Gallery, and so on. So they come, they know where they're going, they make the best of their visits.
There's so many rich historical sites here in New York and such a rich history.
Yes.
What a great place to come to where you could see so much of it in an enclosed space and
absolutely.
Side by side.
Yes, and I think the learning experience with the real things, with artifacts, with primary information about these sort of things, telling New York's cultural and natural history is unlike anything you can do in a classroom. So we encourage museums, or schools across the state and museums to get together.
Are there costs for school groups to come visit the museum?
No, it's free to come to the museum. You know, they have to get on a bus and get there. And
Have you noticed that when we were going through some recessionary times, did that lessen the number of trips that were coming your way?
You know, I think, you know, in those couple of tough years that everybody had, it lessened attendance in all ways. I mean, people were just hanging back, and I think the schools were hanging back a little bit.
Yes.
But we've seen a return in visitation.
Oh, that's so good to hear. We've been suggesting to people all along, say, look, help us support these programs because these are enriching to kids.
Yes.
And we're going to have to cut this kind of thing if we don't have the support that we need from our communities. You mentioned the teacher workshops that you have where you're kind of preparing, they can get prepared for a visit. Are there other things that you provide for teachers along the way?
Well, we do the workshops. So we reached over 800 teachers in 2015 through the workshops we do in geology, in archaeology, and history. They come in for an intensive program. We also do professional development for teachers, where we do special behind-the-scene tours for collections or lectures, and they come in and participate in those programs. So when you reach 800 teachers, we're reaching thousands and thousands of students, because now they've come in and we've made them better experts in the fields that they're teaching. So it's a great relationship.
Well, and I suspect that there's probably a link to a lot of online materials that are out there. So if I've taken kids to your museum, we can then go explore further online or do some exploration online before coming to the museum.
Correct. And the one way we try to reach teachers and students and families across the state is to get as much of our collections and exhibitions and educational material online, so they can see it whether they're coming or not. But
tell me about the family visits. I mean, you probably get, I know I've been down there with my family, and I run into other people who are there with their family, so that's just a great place to go as a family.
Yes, we see somewhere around 600,000 visitors a year.
Wow.
We do public programs, especially over those school vacation, the holiday weeks. We have great surges of families coming in.
You're open year-round.
We're open, yes, we're open year-round. We're closed, on Mondays. That's it. Otherwise, it's 9:30 to 5.
Pretty good chance you're going to be there when I need you.
We'll be there. But we just did an Ice Age program over the last winter break, and we had somewhere over 40,000 people participate in programs and just showing up at the museum that week.
I remember growing up with the museum was the place to go, and now we always worry that kids think that everything you need to know is online, and you don't have to go and actually see it and touch it. It's so great to hear that those visitations are indeed still taking place, because I have such fond memories of growing up knowing that there was a museum there that I could visit.
The special nature of a museum. You put it online, and you would think, maybe they wouldn't come because they've seen it, but it actually has enhanced our visitorship.
Makes you curious.
People want to be in the presence of these actual things and understand.
You mentioned you have a link to higher education, and I understand that you actually have people who do study at the museum.
Yes, we have a number of students from UAlbany this year working on their dissertations, and they work with our historians and scientists, and they're in residence for a year or two working with our collections. And they actually, what's great too is they contribute to the research at the museum that stays with our collections, and it's a terrific program.
That's what you'd love to have an intern do. It's a win-win where they're learning and growing and contributing to you.
Correct. So we know more about the collections and more about the state and the science and the history and so on. And they're a wonderful group of young people.
Now, this is a museum that's been around a long, long time. So I assume that there's a regular updating schedule where you continue to kind of improve upon it, and knowing your background and the fact that you are relatively new, 3 years on the job, you probably have plans for the future.
We do. Well, first of all, we change the galleries throughout the year. We bring in special, exhibitions. It's an exhibit from the Metropolitan Museum of Art right now. We just had a Shaker exhibition. In the years looking ahead, though, we're going to redo about 35,000 square feet of the galleries and tell a more integrated, better story about all of New York State, both the natural and human history. We think they should be more integrated stories. We want to use our collections, want to reach out to other museums and bring artifacts and expertise from other places. So one would come away with a deeper understanding of the whole state. So it's really a moment we're going to pivot and make some enormous changes in the galleries. I'm really excited about it.
Well, so if I've been there recently,
yes.
No reason why I shouldn't come back, because there's more and different things to see.
Correct. So, you know, even today in the years ahead, if you come 3 months from now, there's going to be different exhibitions.
You got some plans for 2017.
Yes. So we're always working a couple of years ahead. 2017 is an important year because there's three historic, two celebrations that we have. The World War I centennial, when America goes to war, and New York played an enormous role in that.
Oh, yeah.
The women's suffrage is centennial, is 2017, so we're doing a major exhibition working with museums and sites across the state to borrow material to tell this really, really important story. And in 2017 is 200-year anniversary of when they began construction of the Erie Canal.
Oh my gosh.
And the State Museum, the State Archives, and State Library have enormously important collections to tell that story. And that's a major exhibition. That's going to be a big 7,000 square foot exhibit there. So as with all the other exhibits, there's artifacts. We're going to have public educational programs. Everything will be online. Teach you guys. So we're busy. A lot of behind the scenes work going on right now.
You know, those of us who live in New York are very proud of our state.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you go to a place like your museum, and it can't help but just puff you up and say, you know, this is a great place to live, and so proud of the history and all that we have to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure meeting with you and just talking about the museum. You've inspired me. I got to start looking for a time to get on down there.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll look you up when I'm there.
Absolutely. It's great to talk to you.
Well, my guest today has been Mark Schaming. Mark is the director of the New York State Museum here in Albany, New York. Mark, thank you so much.
Thanks.